and I've got just a you know. Hello to everybody. This is Dane at JONAH Guitars, and got a Telecaster here. This is an R.C. Kelly Telecaster. I think they might call them barn casters or something. From what I understand is they're made out of like old floorboards from reclaimed buildings in New York or something. So, you know, it's a 200-year-old piece of pine body. And the neck is maple, and when I'll bring you in for a close-up on the neck. But the problem with this guy is that at some point in its life, somebody put a different pickup system in this BIGSBY. I was thinking it was something besides a BIGSBY because it has a different arm on it, but some sort of a little bendy, different kind of arm. But it is still a BIGSBY. But anyway, so the bridge wasn't grounded when this customer bought it. And there again, I'll bring you in on a close-up here in just a second. So I'll show you. There's a piece of copper foil tape that he put in the pickup cavity here. I don't know if it's grounded in the cavity, but he just has it laying underneath the bridge. And the bridge is actually, you know, set like a arch top or whatever. You can move the bridge around, so you could change your intonation and whatnot, or you could lose your intonation. Is more like, I like to pin these bridges. This isn't really a wobble bridge though, like a lot of BIGSBY bridges are. So maybe the whole thing is just supposed to move backward and forward with the strings and then always return to zero. Seems like it returns to pitch fine. I don't know how intonated it is, but I haven't been like dive bombing it. But it's been, you know, sounding just fine. Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, no dive bombing, but it seems to be coming back to pitch just fine. And I haven't checked it to see how, I haven't tuned it, so I have no idea where it's at, but we can kind of tell. Sounds pretty decent, according to my ear. Yeah, I think that's a little off. Anyway, on the high end, so let's get it up on the bench here, and I'll bring you in a close-up, and we'll check some things out. All right, here we go. So, you know what? The owner told me what this pickup was, and I don't remember. It doesn't look like anything I've seen before, and I just didn't log it. Sorry. I might be able to find out what that is and let you know. Okay, so here's this piece of copper right here. I think you can kind of see that in there. You can see it better when I have my hand over here for some reason. Yeah, changes the color when I get my hand in front of the light. So there you go. So like I said, I'll be taking that out and trying to get that out of there. And then I'm going to do is slant drill from the spring pocket here. There's a screw there, so I'll have to pull the BIGSBY off. And then slant screw into the cavity and get a ground wire there. That will just come up in that screw hole, and we'll just run that wire, screw right down into that wire. You also want, this has the original Esquire type of wiring, where when you put it, you know, you've got number one is the bridge, is the, you know, full just bridge. Number two is some sort of a little less bright thing there, so there's probably a capacitor of some sort on that. And then the front is what I call, and a lot of people call, the mud position. A lot of people don't find it terribly usable, even especially when you're in a band context, because you know, generally you need to be able to cut through the mix, and the mud position is just kind of low. It sounds kind of okay to me just sitting here playing it, but He wants to do what's called an Eldridge conversion, Esquire conversion, and it's putting a instead of the mud capacitor that's in that, it's putting a 4700 PF capacitor in. I hate working on guitars with straps on them, but this guy puts it in the case with this strap, and it's got some kind of rubber, you know, anti-slipper thingy on here, so I guess I'll just suffer through it. The other thing I wanted to show you on this guitar, and I don't know anything about Rick Kelly, and I don't know if this was an early one or if all his necks are this amateurish. This looks like a neck that was carved by somebody that, you know, just started. And I will say, in my own defense, I never had a neck that looked this bad. Okay, amateur thickness and all. Anyway, let's see. Like I said, I'm not trying to bag on this guy, but there's no transition from the back of the neck to the back of the peg head, which means, if I can get this in here, there's very slight. But so this is like really, really fat right here. And when I get the strings off it, I'll mic it. But it's actually fatter here at the nut than it is out here. So it's kind of, and it's very, I would call that D-shaped. So you got a lot of shoulder and a lot of thickness. And I will say that I played it and it doesn't really, it feels fine. I mean, but it's not your standard way of carving a neck. It's pretty, like I said, pretty bogus. I don't know if you can tell on the camera or not. It's a nice piece of maple. Got a lot of stripe in it, but it's just, let me get an angle where you can see how it's, yeah, down by the 3rd fret it's thinner, and it's fatter up there again at the nut, which is not really the way it's supposed to work. 1st fret anyway, it should be thinner at the 1st fret and then heading up into, if it was a regular type of peg head, it would be a volute or something. But this is very, very close to the same thickness, the full thickness of the board at that point. So anyway, like I said, it doesn't feel bad, but I would never have settled for a neck that looked like that just because it looks like somebody's first guitar build. Anyway, sounds fine too, but that's a different pick. I don't know what was going on with any of that. The nut, oh, I should show you the nut. I'll have to ask him if he wants me to do anything about that. Is it, can you even see that? I don't know if you can see that. Those nut strings are cut super, super deep into that nut. Now, I can't blame Mr. Kelly for that because I have no idea what's happened to this thing since it left his shop. I know the neck didn't grow, so that's on him. But and the strings are cut into the nut to where they're, I'm sorry, I got out of camera and started doing that, but there's no movement from that on this E string. There's no movement down. A string, same. D string's got a slight bit of movement under it, which is fine. I don't mind them that close. But that one's laying on the fret. And the B is up a little bit, and the E is up just I mean, we're talking a couple thousandths, so they're all pretty much just laying on that 1st fret when you fret them at the 3rd fret. So they're a little close. I didn't get any rattling out of it, okay? So we'll leave it at that. So meanwhile, I'm going to pull this apart and get that drilled in. I'll bring you back in here once I get it unassembled. All right, strings are off. Bridge is out of the way. Spring is out of the way. And let's just pull this loose. When I first started building guitars, I had a guitar JONAH body, my own design, and I built a few of those, and then I decided I wanted to put a BIGSBY on one, That's when I realized that my guitar wasn't long enough for a BIGSBY. So I had to redesign it and add a little meat out here so it had more of this relationship at the end, or the Telecaster kind of relationship. Anyway, you learn stuff along the way, that's for sure. So, all right, BIGSBY is out of the picture. And now let's grab the number one, and get these out of here. So this has a, yeah, let's see if I can. Look at that, I can actually pull this up far enough for you guys to see what's going on here, I think. So we've got a treble bleed circuit in here, and then we've got an Emerson paper oil cap. What is it? 22. That makes sense. I don't know what they're doing as far as, oh, this is some sort of capacitor, resistor, something right here. So that's probably the mud circuit right there. And then they've got braid, so they're using the braid as their ground. They just actually soldered a rod from the volume to the tone pot for that, to ground those two together. It's kind of an interesting idea. Yeah, I don't know that you really need that when you've got the tone and the volume pot screwed into a metal plate. Seems like they're already grounded, but I usually run a wire just to be sure, but that's, And then what do we got here? All right, that's, okay. They've just got, I don't know if you can see this or not. They have shrink wrap on these wires, so they look kind of weird. Up at the front right where they connect everything, they've got shrink wrap on them so they don't accidentally ground out, although they're fabric, cloth wires. So you got your output right here. It's a white wire, and then you got your grounded output right here down to the jack. So it looks pretty standard. The only thing that I would have to change is this one cap right here. If I can find that 4700 PF. All right, let's go ahead and have a look in the pickup cavity. We can pull this gold tape out of there, gold foil. That's a little smaller than my control cavity screws, so we'll separate those. That was quite the angle. Oh, I'm sorry, we were looking at the control cavity and now we're back to the pickup and I didn't move the camera. All right, here we go. It's kind of interesting that the only thing that's shiny on this guitar is this. Everything else is pretty dull. I shouldn't say interesting, it's just the way it is. But all right, so if you want to see under the pickup, it's just pretty straightforward. You got your ground going, you got your braid going to ground, and then you've got another ground going to ground, and then you got your hot coming out of here, and that's all epoxy potted. And let's do this here. I have this bean bag I use for different things, especially when I'm just heating stuff up, so that's why it looks all scorched, because it is. So this foil tape in here is not actually doing anything. It just goes down the front of this pickup cavity, and all I can think is maybe the pickup surround is aluminum. It's not any, this is all aluminum cast, it's not plastic, and it's pretty stinking heavy. So all I can figure is that that was grounding against that. And he said it wasn't working great, so that means he wasn't it wasn't grounding very well. It wasn't making any noise while I had it plugged in. So here we go. Pull that off of there. All right, foil is gone. This screw is really on an angle. Probably just caught whatever grain was happening right there when they started going in with it and just went with it. Well, that one's totally stripped out on that end. So why don't we do this? Why don't we just plug those and drill them down straight and make it right for this gentleman. There are no wires in this area where I'm going to be drilling, so I don't have to worry about something going terribly wrong there. And I got to start it at a bit of a steeper angle, and then as I'm going I can flatten it out a bit. And you know, these little twist drills are not made for wood, and so the little grooves fill up quickly. Okay, either just popped out in the pocket or out the back. So let's have a look. Right out the pocket, right down there in the bottom. Kind of where I was aiming. All right. I'm going to just move this and blow that cavity out with my air compressor. Okay, and let's see. Black wires are usually ground wires on guitars. It's kind of the opposite of household electric. I've probably mentioned that before, but let's just see here. No, I don't need that. I need about that much. Okay, now what I do need to do is just solder the end of this. I can solder both ends, just tinning it, but I like to have the end that goes down in the screw hole soldered. So the other thing I could do here actually is I don't have to go down in the screw hole. I can come out of here and just leave it hanging right here underneath where the bridge sits, because I can see the footprint of the bridge. I dropped my wire. Right around here. Just going to strip this wire back. And then the other end. So then I'll just tin both ends. You probably can't see what I'm doing because it's hanging off the end of the box over here. But this wire is now tinned. Flip it around. If you really want to see my mad soldering skills, go over and watch my clone. I can't remember what the pedal is called. It's Sumac pedal that's supposed to be like a clone, which worked out really good. I'll put a link up there in the corner maybe, if I'm paying attention when I edit this. There we go. Get this out of my way. And so now I'm going to use the shorter end here for this side. Probably have to nub it down a bit anyway, so poke that back in the hole. There we go, it's down there. Oh, good movie. Got my hands right in the way. All right, well, let's see. Let's change hands. So I'm just feeding it down, pulling this one out as I go. And that will actually work just fine like that. And I'm pretty sure this screw will go right by it. Dandy. All right, that's what we're going to do then. Good deal. All right, so I'm going to just put this back on. You know, that's kind of in the way right now. Let's not do that. I'll go ahead and put the pickup in, and then I'll put that back on. I'll let it run. I probably won't show you this because it's just not that big a deal. Double checking to make sure that I don't have a wire going underneath where the screw goes in at, just so I don't have to worry about how deep I drill. And then now we could put the BIGSBY on. And I do want to make sure that I'm not cutting the wire off with the screw, so I want to make sure, like I said, I want to make sure that I'm not, yep, I'm just going down right next to that wire in that holder, and then we'll have the other one pinched in there, and it will be amazing. Let's see what I did. I pulled the BIGSBY off, and I drilled a wire from here into the cavity for ground, and then I pull the mud capacitor. This looks like that, which doesn't have any numbers, anything identifiable. Like probably is on the kit. They probably just shrink wrapped it so it wouldn't short out. But I replaced it with what the Eldridge mod calls for. It's a 4700 UF capacitor. I ordered a couple of them while I was at it, so I got an orange drop in there instead of the little black thing. And I went ahead and intonated the bridge because it's a sliding bridge. Intonated the bridge where it needs to be, and then I took it off and I put double stick tape under it because the owner didn't like it sliding around. And I don't blame him. I have pinned them in the past in various guitars. I think the double-sided tape is actually maybe a little cleaner alternative in case you get down the road and you decide you didn't want to go that route. It's kind of permanent. As I was stringing it back up, I noticed that the string lay on the neck was pretty off, so I had to loosen the neck up and shove it down and get the E strings more parallel to the board. So they're a lot better than they were. I wouldn't say perfect yet, but I'm hanging the bottom of this neck is hanging off of here pretty good. I liked playing the guitar, I told you that before, even though it seems to have a very fat neck and not a very, in my opinion, not very well carved neck. So I know I played it before on the mud setting, so I'm going to show you what this does basically. Okay, you got in the bridge position, you only have one pickup. In the number one position, you have no tone control. So you cannot affect that whatsoever. In the number two position, it's just slightly less bright. Just having the capacitor in the circuit. And maybe I just, yeah. Maybe there's no difference. Anyway, until you roll this off, and if you roll that off, then you definitely have a difference. So the way this sort of thing works is if you've got it, you're doing something. How if I can get want to go to your other position. So you don't have to fiddle with the tone knob if you want to just have it kind of all out, or if you're doing a in the wrong position. If I could play, we'd be in business. I'll just blame the guitar, that's what everybody else does. Okay, and then if you go up, so you're in the middle, we're going to have the tone wide open again. So the middle and the bridge are virtually the same sound. Then you go up here. Now I'll have to compare it to the other video that I already did, because it's quieter, but I don't think it's as muddy. It almost sounds like an in-between position on a Strat right there. So I would like a little brighter, but I guess that's what this position's for, right? So I heard this described as the cocked wah sound, and it does kind of give you that effect. So we'll see. Well, that's it. I'm just goofing around, and not very well either. So, the Rick Kelly Telecaster, Barnwood, New York, old buildings, and I think that's what the guy told me. I'm pretty sure it is. Well, okay, folks, that's going to do it for this one. Go ahead and take a look at the t-shirts down there in the description, and pick one of those up if you like. And like hearing from you guys in the comments. You know, if you got questions or you just want to say hi, go ahead, and I'm always interested to hear what you've got to say. And if you have anything to add, a lot of guys will just say, hey, you know, if you did this, it might be helpful. And people can use that info, so please feel free to do that, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.